incredibly grateful for the partnership with Minnesota Center for Book Arts, and I want to give a huge, huge, huge special thank you to Annika Schneider and Elisa Boschel for their partnership, the planning, the logistics, and all the pieces that go into the whole Book Artist Award program, the evening tonight and the ceremony that will be happening in slightly less than 2 weeks. I'd also like to recognize the sponsor of the Book Artist Award, and that is Lerner Publishing Group. And it's evidence of their long-standing interest and connection to book arts. So we're grateful for their support as well. We're very, very excited to be celebrating Vesna on Tuesday, May 7th at the Minnesota Book Awards ceremony with a program emceed by Nerdy at the Ordway Center for Performing Arts in downtown St. Paul. So tickets are still available if you don't currently have tickets or plans on in Tuesday in a couple of weeks. Please do join us. There is also a live stream that is happening of the Book Awards ceremony. So we'll have an opportunity, like I said, to celebrate Vesna there. We also have plenty of other opportunities to connect with the finalists in our 9 book categories. We have all sorts of information on a Minnesota Book Awards brochure that's up here at the front table and near the entrance. So that has the ticket information and all of those engagement opportunities. So please do check it out. Again, thank you so much for being here. And now it's my pleasure to hand things over to Elisa Boschel, Executive Director of Minnesota Center for Book Arts.
Hello, everyone. Hi. My name is Elisa Boschel. I'm the Executive Director here at Minnesota Center for Book Arts. For those of you who have been involved with MCBA for a long time, welcome back. And for those of you who might not know us yet or be new, MCBA is a community-based nonprofit organization dedicated to igniting creativity and connections through the book arts. Since our founding in 1983, MCBA has grown to be one of the largest and most comprehensive book art centers in the world, and is the only public center to offer, public studio to offer access to letterpress type in languages other than English. Through our studios, our artist programs, our workshops, and educational opportunities for people of all ages, we preserve the tools and traditions of book arts and connect audiences to contemporary artists using these media in innovative ways. We believe in the limitless creative potential of this dynamic art form and envision a world in which creative expression through the book arts is available to all. From presenting artist talks, exhibitions, and workshops that engage a wide public, to providing critical support for artists through affordable studio space, fellowships, mentorships, residencies, consignment and teaching opportunities, MCBA's programs allow the book arts and book artists here in Minnesota to thrive. Our impactful work is powered by our community. So if you would like to support this work, please consider becoming a member, making a donation, or purchasing artwork from artists in our shop. I'm pleased tonight to have the privilege of introducing wonderful artist and dear friend, Vesna Kittelson, the winner of the 2024 Minnesota Book Artist Award. This annual award, which is presented by MCBA and the Friends of the St. Paul Public Library, is sponsored, as Elaine said, by the Lerner Publishing Group, recognizes a Minnesota book artist or collaborative group for excellence of a new artistic work. I would like to thank Elaine Hopkins, Director of Programs and Services at the Friends of the St. Paul Public Library, for her and the Friends' long-standing collaboration with MCBA in presenting this award and recognizing book arts within the wider realm of publishing in Minnesota. We're so happy to partner with you in this work. I don't know where Elaine went. There she is. As she mentioned, Vesna will also be recognized at the event on May 7th at the Ordway. If you're interested in seeing more work by past winners of the Minnesota Book Artist Award, please check out the wonderful exhibition, The Next Chapter, currently on view in the Cargill Gallery on the 2nd floor of the Hennepin County Library, organized by artists and MCBA community members Stephen McCarthy, who's right over there, and Erica Spitzer Rasmussen. The exhibition features the winning work from 13 past winners, alongside new work by these artists. An accompanying catalog can be found in our shop. The exhibition is on view through May 25th, and I encourage you to go see it. It's really wonderful. And now to get to the task at hand. Tonight, it is my great honor to be able to recognize Vesna's winning work, Letters to America, winner of this year's Book Artist Award. Vesna's work is based on a decades-long imaginary conversation between herself and American culture. As described by Vesna, the dialogue has been about everything, but especially my trying to understand the meaning of democracy and absence of justice for immigrants. Members of the award committee appreciated the layered intentionality of the work, noting the artistic construction of Letters to America's physical elements, the binding, form, and text, both hand-drawn and printed, as thoughtful linking of form to content. The choice to move between words and pages that we can read and those we can't read point towards Vesna's understanding of living as an immigrant, things understood and not understood. Vesna adds, as an artist, I should like to increase awareness of how helpless it can be to find yourself outside a language. Originally from Bosnia and Herzegovina of Croatian descent, Vesna is a multifaceted artist who makes artist books, paintings, and sculpture. A naturalized American citizen, she splits her time between Minneapolis, Croatia, and Cambridge, England. She is an original member of the feminist Worm Gallery. She taught at MCAD for many years and was a founding member, I think it says Forming Content. Oh, no, founding member of the Traffic Zone Center for Visual Arts, where she holds a studio. And they'll be having open studios in a couple weeks, which I also encourage everyone to go to. She was a member of the Co-op Gallery Form and Content Gallery in Minneapolis from 2013 to 2019. She is a recipient of the 2024 Woman of Influence Award from the Croatian Women Network and has won a silver medal from the Midwest Independent Publishers Association for her 2020 work, Synthesis Lost and Found in America, The Art of Vesna Kittelson, published by Arian Press. She received a 2019 Artist Initiative grant from the Minnesota State Arts Board, and her work can be found in the collections of the Brooklyn Museum of Art Library, the Victoria and Albert Museum, National Art Library in London, Walker Art Center, Wiseman Art Museum, the Getty Research Institute, Minnesota History Museum, Yale University's library, and many others. Please join me in welcoming Vesna Kittelson.
So now I have a job to match this kind of thinking that went with such flawless speed, and I'm not natural to that, as you can tell immediately, I'm sure. But I do want to begin by saying that I appreciate the committee that selected my book enormously, and I thank them. I don't even know who these people are necessarily, but there they are. And also want to thank Elaine Hopkins of the Friends of the St. Paul Public Library, who has called me several times, and we talked about how wonderful it is that I have this award, but she was the first messenger for it. Thank you very much, Elaine. And then, of course, Elisa Waschel, the executive director of Minnesota Center for Book Arts, who made this magic that I think is happening to me. I don't know if it's happening to you, but it's marvelous that this is going on because of that natural cooperation between these two institutions, one in St. Paul and one in Minneapolis. And for this time, they're not quarreling and pushing each other at all, but together. And look what happens. Then I would like to thank Annika Schneider, who really went an extra mile to prepare all of this for us, and as well as the cabinet downstairs on the first floor. I'd like to then thank you, the audience, for being here, giving me your evening. I hope that I don't disappoint you, My wonderful family, that is my son Andre, sitting in the last row over there, and then my wonderful husband of 54 years, David, who both have put up with quite a bit of ups and downs that that career of an artist is like. It's not smooth like, Mississippi River, or, it's nothing like that. It is up and it is down. It's the end of the world, and then it is wonderful award and the collections and so on. It's like that. To live with a person like that, I do thank you guys. Okay, then I would like to say that this celebration has to include two wonderful friends of mine. But first, I want to mention SmartSet and Jesse Michaud, who have helped me with printing. This is a printing company, SmartSet. And now I want to separate and say that who stands out in this collaborative work, and collaboration is my favorite thing about this kind of making of the book. It's wonderful. You have brilliant people listening to what your questions are and helping you out with some thoughts. That would be C.B. Sherlock, who is here in the audience. And she also did the letterpress for my book, Letters to America. And then Barbara Jadi, whom I did not see yet. Oh, hi, Barbara, who put her mind and her wonderful hands together to make an impossible request by me, which was to please make a Coptic binding for this book. But I worked on both sides of the book, and then I wanted it to be flat when you open it. Well, how can that be? Well, she figured it out, and I think it's a unique thing. So thank you all. And if I forgot anybody, but I don't want to. He is, friends. I want to mention Steve, and I see Harriet, and I see Mariampe, and I see Beth, and I see Rebecca, a couple of Rebeccas here. And the list goes on. But thank you for being here. I really appreciate you. So when this award happened to me, I was thinking about this talk a lot, because my life, for some reason, is life of twists and turns. Nothing is simple and linking necessarily. I am a person that makes leaps. I don't necessarily have smoothness. And I've been taken this situation as sometimes criticism by people and friends. But this is what it is. This is who I am. So I decided to then describe my career, thinking of, I think it is, her name is Annie, wonderful author who wrote Life, Life in Writing. And I forget her last name, but Harriet Bart gave me her book. And she says in this book, first ask yourself, is this doable? Is this possible to do? Secondly, ask yourself, can you do it? And how can anyone put a career of 53 years in 40-minute speech? That is not doable, but partly it is. And that is what I have selected to do, that we will do it partly, and that I can do it. So I would like to begin by saying that I spend quite a bit of time thinking about how to structure this talk, and it comes down to the most influential things that ever happened to me in my life. That would be my beginning in Split, Croatia, during the communist times, and then contrasting that with the Roman palace that is also in Split, where I was growing up. I'll tell you about it in some more detail. Then I went at age 23 to Cambridge, England, where I heard about Charles and Emma Darwin, which is my first book about them. And also, for the first time, I felt that I was outside of a language, that I could not say clearly what I wanted. and that it would be interpreted really kind of in a different direction because of my mistakes, you know. And my mom used to always say, stop talking so much, you'll end up in jail, you know. And here I was totally not able to talk. It was really funny. I often thought of her, what she would say now when I can't really say anything. I would say things like, people would say, Vesna, how are you? I would say, I'm very, very nice, thank you. Or my friend Nina loves the story where we were invited to dinner and people were very proud of the kitchen, but I mixed kitchen and chicken. So I said, oh, this is such a beautiful chicken. And the woman said, we're not having chicken tonight, it's fish. You know, so these kinds of things were happening, and they're lighthearted, that's why I'm sharing them with you. But they can be grim and serious too. You know, try to get documents somewhere and you will learn just how outside of a language you can be. And it is something that is life-threatening, maybe. And then after Cambridge, we went to St. Paul and Minneapolis. And we continued with me being outside of the language for a while, but great happiness because I left darkness that you are looking at now in our lives there. You know, communism really prided themselves at giving everyone free living space. But these are just chicken coops, you know, they're not nice, they're not maintained well, they're not built well. It is very depressing. And I, even as a child, needed beauty. I really did. I seeked it. I know that I was finding it when swimming in the sea and diving, because that's another, you know, that's another material you enter. And in there, you forget that you're a man or a woman, tall or short, fat or skinny, any race, that doesn't matter. You become sort of cosmically included into oneness. And I was seeking that until about age 13. At about 13, I started going to the center of Split, the city that I was growing up with, and often with a friend who had the same kind of need. We would look at this marvelous piazza that we call peristyle, that was built by Diocletian. Diocletian was one of the last effective Roman emperors, and he was born in this area. So he decided to build himself a fantastic palace. It was gigantic. It was actually, I say, country in Rome, you know. And he therefore did not die killed. He died of natural causes. And this was his palace. So she and I would walk our bodies through and touch the stone, talk about, you know, Corinthian pillars without knowing those words. We did not know any language. We didn't know what pediment meant, what vestibule meant. And you can see the sign of the square above the pediment. That is the vestibule. You go through the gate and you come into perfectly round circle that is so incredible. And all of these materials, and you're wondering, why is she telling us? I'm not promoting tourism in Croatia at all. I do not like it. I do not like it. But I have to tell you that this is beautiful. This is a very powerful beauty because the quality was very high level of Roman achievements in architecture. So what we have, it does not in Croatia compare with what Italy has. I even say Croatia is a poor Italy. We do not, I'm not comparing it, but this piece, yes, it has the height of a great architecture that Romans have achieved, particularly with geometry. Now, she and I were friends from 13 to 20, I think. This is the age that we were going to look at this, often in the rain, because people would run home and we could see the way you are looking at it now. You know, it is usually populated and you're distracted. But we would sit on these steps and tell each other, first, art criticism. I think this is what I was getting. We were describing to each other what is that thing? What's that thing? We didn't know Corinthian pillar. Uh, we did not know portico. We did not know vestibule. Nothing. But we were talking about it the best we could. And this is the vestibule. You can see it's a perfect circle built with materials like stone and Roman brick, you know, and it was the very beginning of my care and collecting information on how to make a composition. Today's compositions that I made are based on those intuitive feelings that I had when I was walking my body through those spaces that were so beautifully geometric and so impeccably done. So when I became 23, it was time for me to go to Cambridge because I was done with my law degree and I needed to work for a man who wanted me to go and learn some English because Split is also a big shipyard and we need some English, you know, for customers that come and make orders or something. Little did we know that the legal language is something you never learn how to do unless you're a lawyer. You know, I mean, I had absolutely no idea. And what I did see is, as an artist, I saw that here we have, for example, 3 layers of different material. This is river Cam, and then beautiful English grass field that doesn't have naturally any, you know, weeds. And then as you are walking from it towards this magnificent chapel, this is called King's Chapel, you are subjected to decisions that were made in terms of geometry again and in terms of gorgeousness again. And so inside, especially because David was a PhD student, he had a permit to get in there, which was not limited to any hours, and I would sit truly stunned looking at the ceiling, thinking, this looks, what is this? It looks like a drawing, but I know it's made with stone. I know that these vitrage windows are pure chroma. This is incredible stuff. Again, even then I didn't know all the language, but I did know far more. Of course, I could see the intricacy of this kind of a ceiling that was something I was seeking to achieve with the language in my letters to America. Not that I'm comparing it with the ceiling in Cambridge. I am not, but I'm just saying it is this inspirational moment. And after we were in Cambridge, which I want to go back to for a second. Oops, sorry. After we were in Cambridge, where I experienced what it means to be outside of the language, like I was saying, we came to St. Paul and Minneapolis, where there was a different, completely different environment. We have Old Man River with wonderful bridges all over, and then the spatial understanding of space is very different from, let's say, Cambridge or Split. It's very, very different, and I like that. Because of these 3 cities, I was able to have kind of open mind, and I was subject to different people's opinions about what is culturally important to them, you know, and I have personality that likes to fit in. I like to know what people think. I like to hear their words. I'm learning this English, you know. And so I was really beneficiary of these 3 cities that have been a great input into my collecting of the materials and informations that will find a way in my painting, and then also finally in the letters to America. So the first thing that I did that was intelligent here was, after I got my degrees in art, both in design and fine arts, I joined WARM, the most wonderful cooperative of women who wanted to change the world and did change the world. Absolutely, they did. They were that strong, that committed, that visionary, that powerful, and nothing ever matches my time being there. Now, especially because, you know, I came from society that was top down. And here, for first time, I was starting to untangle some of the aspects of democracy, because we would get together once a month to sit around in a circle, and we would be talking about finances, about slide library, about which women we want to have visiting us. We were talking about how to get publicity. We were talking about all of the very difficult decisions that nobody knew how exactly to do, but we were doing it and learning and changing things and improving them. I think that every single artist that was there, who was exhibiting artists, and not everybody was, but have benefited from that time in WARM. I was encouraged by my friends, sisters, to buy a huge, like this big roll of paper. It was 100 yards that came from New York. I opened it up and I had it on the floor with several buckets of water, million brushes, big and small, and was trying to capture the beauty of Adriatic Sea, which so much means to me to this day. And I was then cutting and folding and painting and cutting and folding until I got the painting that I wanted. And then I liked putting them on the wall and making the wall part of it. Wall becomes space, not just something you put nails in and never think of it again. It changed. For me, this was really another language. Do you know what I mean? Visual language that I always need as an artist. So another piece is this piece that would hang 7 feet high, but it was up to maybe low down to the knee size. And I have 2 pieces of paper that are huge, sort of coming together as if they're waves, you know. And then I also have the detail to show you just how many different brush strokes were used, and brushes looking for the language. It's not English language, but it's communication. We say that art is communication, that exists because of that. And so I was using even small brushes, which I now, when I was looking through these slides, was thinking, you know, this I was trying to write something, you know, as well. And the next thing happened that I needed to go with David and Andre back to Cambridge. And when we went back to Cambridge, I was given by these wonderful people in the Churchill College archives this space. I realized immediately that my paintings would not really do well on those walls. You know, they're very dark, they have messages written on them. It is a sort of Englishness that I could not really come around and avoid. So for the first time, I made freestanding sculpture that was very interesting for me to begin, because I was not feeling brave prior to that at all. And now I needed to do it. They expected me to do something, so I was spending a lot of time making these sculptures. The next thing that happened is I started making my paintings combined with the figure. So everything that you've seen so far is abstract. And in those days, believe it or not, you had to be either abstract painter or figurative painter. But being always the person that marches to different drum, I am that person that put the two together in the piece that I have two titles for it. One is Departure, that means to America, where I'm leaving everything for love of David and me here in the corner, lower corner on your right. And I am going into America I don't know anything about, because believe me, Yugoslavia had only curse words for America. It was very difficult for my parents, because all they were listening to, are you really letting her go to America? What are you doing? You know, because some people were really sold on communism completely. And they were the ones that would come and say these things that were not very kind. So my parents knew it was otherwise. My parents knew it was different. So I painted the middle of the painting in a bright, promising yellow. And I am going for David, with David over there, which means St. Paul and Minneapolis. And you can see that I'm even then starting to write first letters that were unfinished, that are abstract. So I'm putting abstraction together with more defined detail. And then I continue with cosmic sandals. There is I don't know, several paintings that I call cosmic sandals. And the cosmic sandals became relevant because I started feeling really empowered by being free as a person, and feeling that I could go anywhere, that I was protected citizen, and therefore this magical landscape here was meant to be really kind of happy and very positive energy. The next slide, however, is not so happy, because the fall of communism brought side effects that were really horrible. And I didn't know how to deal with it. This is really something I did not know what to do and how to find the sources. What do I trust as a source? What would be the best information for me to get? So instead of having that big piece of paper on the floor, I wanted to mimic the fragmentation of information by saying, you can see first piece is like more information. Then you get less information in the next few days, and you don't know if you can trust it. Then less information in for a few days. So I put these three big sheets of paper together, and then I added my very worried face of as I'm observer and believing that we have to be free, that we must be free. You mustn't really belong to Ceausescu, which is the first falling down of communism that I've heard of. And he was killed in about, I think, 4 days. That was it. And he killed the citizens who came over lunch hour to ask of the government to let them have passports to go to Italy, because Romania is connected with Italy culturally quite a bit. So that is what he did, and it was simply unbelievable. But what we knew, it was going to have a domino effect. This is not the last thing. Never did I think that this would happen to the region where I am from, called Croatia. And Croatia, first Slovenia was attacked, but then stopped quickly, and then Croatia for 4 years. And then Bosnia, I think even now is struggling. And is also, if you know that region, there are other conflicts going on, like with the population that is Albanian, you know. So this chaos that art brings was what I wanted to express in this painting. For that, you know, all I think every person that Picasso did fantastic Guernica. There is nothing that anybody can say that is more than Guernica or anything close to Guernica. This is something that is a special thing. But I did, however, study Max Beckmann, who was able to talk about violence or war in a unique way, I think. He talked about torture, misery, tears, death, everything unimaginable in a normal life. And particularly what I admired with him is that he knew how to describe chaos inside of a person, because you can't take it straight when it's a war. And you can't stop saying things that you would never otherwise say when it is war. He knew how to talk about the war that causes these kinds of feelings. And the only optimistic thing, he was a lover of horn. You can see a horn in the corner. I always see something like that. I've never read anything about it, but I think that was like only optimism that he felt. And you know, I will show you now the next thing, which is to be shocked and find out that libraries are burned regularly during the war. This is a common thing because libraries carry culture. And I am only talking about the dictionaries, but the enemy's language is not what you want to support. You want to burn it, you want to char it. So I make these fragments that you can see here on the table from dictionaries that were on the way to a dumpster. I was given some from St. Paul Academy, for example. They were just going to dump them in a dumpster. And my friend, carrying big bags of books, brought them to me, you know, so I would have them. So what I'm doing here is sort of, I think now when I look at it, that the fan here, that this face that expresses sadness because of the war, is sort of like what our Max Beckman had with the horn. This is my optimism, a little bit of fashion and fun, in addition to just unforgivable pain. These are all cutouts. These are first portraits that I've ever done, and here's the second one, which I worked on recently as well, because I wanted to make it an obvious case of my compassion for immigrants. All right, so the next thing is my complete change toward much more optimistic work, which would be understanding of young Americans. I was always puzzled with people in Croatia telling me, Vesna, why don't you just sit down and tell us about the democracy of yours? I would say, but democracy, guys, started from Magna Carta. I can't really tell you over coffee what it is. I really don't know what it is. I need to study it more and live it more, and I can share some bits and pieces, but it isn't something you sit down and explain to somebody what it means. So I decided that after I came to MCAD's classroom where I was preparing for the students to come, I saw 3 students who had their heads over their paints comparing them. They just bought them in the store at MCAD. And I came and I said hello, and when they lifted their heads, I saw 3 young women that were of different race. They were not paying any attention to differences, racial or otherwise, or financial, did not matter to them. They were supportive of each other, they loved each other, and it showed in the class. Particularly strong person in my class is the woman that did not want to be an artist, but wanted to work in a nonprofit like our Minnesota Center for Book Arts is. That is really sort of what her goal was in California. And she was just temporarily passing through MCAT. She asked me one day, will you please tell me what it is that your education was like during communism in communist years? And I said, what? Nobody has ever asked me that. Nobody has ever asked me that. This is an amazing question. I don't really, we need to, you know, in front of the class, this is all not private, it is all open. I said, I will if you tell me what it feels like to be a Black woman in America. And she did. She told us stories that were absolutely stunning. So this is AmeriKa, my very first model of young Americans. This is a cutout. This is about 2 feet by 2 feet. And it goes directly on the wall like this as well. Here is Lulu from Somalia. And then on the right is a wonderful young woman, at that time, young woman, who is a Canadian-born Greek. And then I would like often to put them together as cutouts on the wall because they leave an impression that somebody is looking this way, somebody is walking this way, somebody is standing in the back. And I put together, he is a family member of Adam on the far left, who was Israeli, even Israeli soldier who decided to come to America and is an American now, I think, right? Is he an American now? And then Annie, as I told you, she's a Canadian Greek. Then we have um, William, who did not know what his origins in Africa were. He was not as interested at that time. He now lives in Florida and is chef somewhere, but I don't really believe that he didn't change, that he didn't become more interested. And then a young woman who was of French origins, who worked in an artist shop that would get me supplies. So I'm finished with that and moving on to how did books, Mrs. Darwin's Garden and other books happen. In 2009, David and I went to Cambridge, England to live, and Andre too, to live. And we took a walk in the evening and found out that all the stores, everything was showing life, Darwin's life, because it was 250th year of his birth, but 200th year of his On the Origin of Species. He was incredibly influential in Cambridge because he was educated there. And I started paying attention to his private life because I am not a scientist and I'm not good at understanding what evolution is talking about. And so I found out that he was momentarily, for a few seconds, engaged to a woman who said to him that she would marry him if he gave up insects and never talked about them in their elegant life. He dropped her, never mentioned her again, and he married who? Emma. Emma was his first cousin who was really very aware of how his mind works. She was helping him categorize insects, categorize leaves, and she understood a lot from the beginning to the end of the life. He died in her arms. To the end of their lives, that she understood what he was talking about. He even said, you probably read, before they married, I think that you will humanize me. Can you believe this? And soon teach me that there is greater happiness than building theories and accumulating facts in silence and solitude. When I read that, I knew I need to do something with Darwin's. But you cannot imagine, just believe me for a moment, that the Cambridge people are so protective and possessive of our Darwin that you cannot be an Icarus going close to the sun and touch this family. You cannot. So I knew that, and it took me almost 4 years here in the studio thinking about them and how to do something. So I decided to make a book called Mrs. Darwin's Garden, and this is book 4. I made 4 of them. And at this time, I know that I needed to invent a way of talking about Darwin's that was not offensive to the English. So I said, in my imagination, I can see what Darwin was thinking the night before the Beagle arrived to the unknown shores as flowers. What was he imagining? And I am saying, I can see he was imagining this, but we know when he came off the boat that what he did find. It's completely different because my plants are made up, they don't exist. I'm just saying this is what he was anxious about, thinking that's what he was going to see. And then when he came off the land to the land, then he was having drawers and experts helping him record things and so on. So I then started pouring paints in my studio, going back with brushes and pencils to make these plants that do not exist, but I'm giving them Latin names for fun. I am being humorous. I'm not being super serious about this planning to be some great career, on this. So here is another piece where I just, would move paper and move the brush through the paint. And then this is the fourth book, the one that you're looking at. And that was, I think, 2016 when I was finished with that project as is. But I continued making plans and then putting them on the wall. My grandchildren helped me put a grid because I like to think of a big wall, bigger than this even, as a notebook, So I'm putting these plans all over. And then I am doing also collage. Here are the paintings, painted parts, and then I would put collage. If you can see the two flowers that I have there, one is lipsticks that I took out of Mag, and the other one is red and green peppers, So whatever works, it's very playful and I like doing it. So I don't know whether I'm lucky or very unlucky that I like original books. I don't really reproduce much. Like Mrs. Darwin's Garden sold on the first opening that I had because only 6 pieces. And then the fourth book I made 10. That's why I have 2 more. But basically they were going fast and, often it's just a book that's in some collection. I was working at that time back to the language, painting and then cutting sort of shapes that resemble letters. And then I was putting them back into the box mounting. And that is that one unique book that I was talking about. So dictionary book as a sculpture came sort of naturally to me because people were collecting dictionaries for me and giving them, saying, do whatever you want because these dictionaries are all mass produced. I do not make anything with a very fine book, nothing like that. But we have a nephew who had a saw and he would follow my line drawing on the book and then he would make that cut and I could have them freestanding as a sculpture. I like that specificity about dictionaries. And then I would put them also in a cluster and present them on a pillar. So my next thing is, maybe you've seen it at the Walker where with Harriet and Jody Williams, I exhibited, we all had our own space. And again, I was getting shapes of letters that were interesting to me. Then I was doing this for Getty, where I wanted to have combination of hand cut. This is what I did. And then also the one with stamps and one that is lime green next to it. And then Chris did the other ones on a machine the way I drew it. So they are freestanding and they can be opened a little bit. But basically I covered them at that time with the canceled stamps because I was thinking if I cannot go to the world can come to my studio in the shape of a canceled stamp, and I will use it to talk about people from everywhere bringing different language to me in the studio. With the collection of dictionaries that was growing, I was thinking what to do with them, and I thought that my best chance would be to make a peace library, because I can't fix words. I cannot make peace out there, but in my studio I can. No one dominates. Everybody is altered enough to not dominate. That was my objective, and I, to this day, really like that, although in about 2019 I stopped collecting them because it's simply overwhelming. And then I'm also practicing now how to use the images in digital printing. And what I do is I get the images and then I print them on a 60-inch long paper that's 42 this way and 60 inches this way. These are called 2 poems for immigrants. And I am doing this because I think that immigrants dream of having passports, dream of having green card, dream of being able to be citizens like we are, protected and safe. And so these are the words and calligraphic language that I have made up from copying the cracks on the streets, because as you know, I'm disabled. And so they are sprayed, or I can I drew some too, but I take them off the street and then transfer them to the white background, and then I treat it as a language. This piece is done in honor of Amanda Gorman, who is very supportive of immigrants and saying, you know, we're an immigrant nation, let's not threaten them. Let's not talk that they're criminals, that they're taking jobs from us. Let's not do that kind of thing. And so I admire that, and I made that in her honor. I also want to say that on the previous slide, if you see the green card here, this belongs to Steve Ozonic, who is here, my friend. His father was, as a Japanese person, taken, and I guess it's not in prison. What do you say? A what? It was a prison, okay. So just because he was Japanese, brilliant man, harmless man, beautiful man, and this is what's happening now too. So I am thinking, all right, so I have spent all of these years writing letters to America in my mind. And why America? Not only because it happened to me, and I love it, but also because it's a very important and powerful country. Everything is an issue there in America. I mean, we have issues with environment and with energy. We have issues with oceans to clean. We have issues protecting people. And so I decided after 4 surgeries that I had in my spine, and I think about 54 people were helping me to survive in recovery, many of whom were immigrants. I learned that they were telling me what they were going to give me to take. I would ask them what it was, and they would say, oh, you know what? I am so sorry. I don't speak English. And here they're saving my life, apologizing to me. And I thought, that's it. I am going to make a book about what it means to be outside the English language and live with the English language. You know, how difficult it is. So I call it Letters to America with the letter K, because many countries in Europe write America with a K and not with a C. So to me, that's the first indicator that I'm sending out that I am not of origins from here, but somewhere else. Then you take the book out, and I will show you when I'm done here. Then there is a cover, and the book is, this is the content, but the cover of the book says that I am actually dealing with two immigrants groups. One is anonymous out there that, you know, I met for the whole month in Mayo and then in a transitional place as well. And these are anonymous people to me. But then my whole family is very immigrant. Just think that I have done this book for the love of all of them, including Giovanni and Isabella, who are my grandchildren, and they are Americans, Brazilian, Croatian, Norwegian. This is who they are. Then I have my son here, Andre, who is Croatian, Norwegian, and American. Then I have a daughter-in-law who married him but grew up in Brazil, and she is American and Brazilian. And then I'm number 6 in the family, and I am really, I never was in Bosnia. I just happened to be born earlier than my time. So I happened to be born in Bosnia, and I have never been to town where I was born yet. I'm 77, I haven't. But my background is that, and then Croatian, and then Austrian, and then American. So when we sit around the table to eat and chat, I often think, look at this. This is what a very modern family can be. You know, we do not have to have conflicts. We don't have to pull this way or that way. We are together as one. And that is what my aim is. So here I am taking calligraphic dark images that you see are sort of calligraphic in personality, but they're natural cracks on the streets where I walk with my Scandinavian poles. And I take photographs of it. Then Jessie in Smart Set helps me, Jessie Misho, she helps me move them to the white pages, and then I have them printed on my pages. As you see, I continue with grid. Grid is really something important to me because it kind of helps me focus on having everything together. And then I also draw sentences. And Michelangelo said, draw Antonio, don't waste any time. So I have to remind myself, I have to write and write and write, erase, 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 write over it, erase again, so that I get palimpsest, we call it palimpsest, of layers and layers that show over each other in fragments, or sometimes like I think Elaine's Hopkins said, something is clear, something is not, something is readable, something is not. This is really what this book is. I needed to make abstractions so that Letters to America apply to anyone and everyone who is wherever from an immigrant. And I'm also doing a lot of printing with monoprinting to also layer. And here's this, and now a shocking photograph of what it looks on the street. You see that? This is what I have changed. And look at this, this is in the next book. You see that? Barbara Jadi, who is a master of putting things close together so that this image can go onto the next page next to it, is what was really kind of my objective. I really wanted to achieve that you look at the open pages in a way that it is one surface, you know. And then in the end, this says that I'm also using on the side here, I'm using a collage as well, which is not common, but I have done it, and this is why I'm showing you this. The page before the last says, at last, immigrants' letters to America. So I waited all of these years to finally say, no more. These people are fantastic. We've got to go together with them to whether they are economic immigrant, political immigrant, climatic immigrant, personal immigrant like me. We all need to learn language with your patients. We need to make some money to make a living, and we are not stealing any jobs. We need to be safe, and we need to be loved by the community. We've got to be La Forza. We've got to be together, one force that goes forward in life. And my last thing is to say thank you for all of your patience. I'm open to that. Yeah, thank you very much. All right, thank you. I am so honored and delighted to be in this situation, and to say that also, before I finish completely, that, I don't think that a book like this can do anything. I do not do this book because I think it will change anything or anybody's mind. People are so quite firmly stuck into their minds, whatever they are. But I am saying that I, as an artist, must express belief in something bigger and better than being stuck in one-minded lines, about immigrants. I really don't want to not do something. So this is what made me finally do it. Thank you. Oh, you did it. You did it. Thank you. Lovely. Thanks very much.
One second, there's some time for some questions. So if anyone has a question, please raise your hand and I will bring the mic over to you. Are there any questions?
Don't be shy. I don't know any answers, I mean, I am an experimental artist. I move one line and then I respond to it, and then another. That I don't know any answers. But do ask.
Any questions? And if not, we can just,
Okay.
Question.
Yes.
Thank you, Vesna. What are your editions typically? You mentioned the Darwin's Garden project as being very small, but are
Yeah.
you
You see, I never thought that I would exhibit and show these books. I didn't make them for that reason. But then, for example, Tate, who has hawks, watching what is going on in art, contacted me, and they have all 4 originals, but I only had 6 of first 3 books, and then 10 of the 4th book. I was simply not familiar. I was new to this job. But for example, I think the biggest, I mustn't go away. Oh, you can? Okay. So the biggest decision here with the letters to America, which I will page for you, it was, I have the original copy that won the award, and then I have 10 more books that I want to work on because they seem cold to me, just a printed digital print. It just didn't seem right. So I am doing all the 10 books that will be original. But that is Vesna Kittelson for you. I love working. I am a toiler. I just love making original books. So each one is different. They're quite similar, but they're different. They're not exactly the same. And that is my decision to do, And this book is about my career that was funded by the Weizmann Art Museum and the board, Minnesota Arts Board. To produce, and it was absolutely incredible job for me to go back to my original work, because I didn't really know any dates, and I was then finding some dates and then making careful estimates and so on. And this book is the one that won the silver medal, because what I have here is great artist writers who I gave permit to just say anything they want. I did not want to feel that I want compliments and revering my work. No, I wanted really to know what it is that they see and say. And so I gave them 5 months to do it, but I gave May 1st as a date that I will be calling. And and so this is how I work. It is so full of twists and turns. You know, I'm sorry that I can't give you one answer, but so this book is made en masse. I mean, you can order it. This is going to be 11 books, but 10 copies or versions, I should say versions of the original book. And, you know, I'm on the book 8. I'm getting there, but it is an awful lot of work. This book, Letters to America, seems simple, but as a matter of fact, it's been quite a complex book to do, quite an expensive book to do, quite different from what my initial estimation was. And if any of you would like to, after, if there are any other questions in the audience.
Are there any other questions? Otherwise, I think we could just take a closer look at Vesna's book someday.
I have one more.
Yes, yes, please, go ahead.
Curious as to why you were so abjectly opposed to tourism
You know why? Tourists, when they come 10 million tourists and the population is 4 million, you feel pressures with trash, you feel pressures with cigarettes, you feel, you know, all the things that I'm worried about would be fires. For example, I'm scared of fire like no one. You have never met someone who is more frightened of that. And we have them. You know that Greece has them, that Spain has them, you know that Portugal has them, because people do start fires by being careless. So that's why. It isn't that I'm opposed to tourists, I'm opposed to tourism that we have, which is everybody can go because we want money. And I feel like if there was any kind of balance, it would protect, for example, Diocletian Palace from a lot of drinking at night and noise at night. You know, this beauty doesn't really want that, you know. And so does that explain? It isn't that I'm anti-tourist. I'm anti-tourism, the way we do it. I am putting it on us. We don't do it well. You know, we just take money. And that, you know, I would like to see maintenance. I'd like to see, you know, luckily so far, I can say we didn't have violence at all. People are disciplined about that, but, you know, brawls and drinking at 2:00 a.m. and all that kind of thing is not enjoyable. It is big noise for people who live in the center. They complain a lot about it, but on the other hand, they rent rooms, and what can you do? You know, it's that kind of chase. I don't do that. I like the silence and the starry night, you know, being oneness with nature and people. You're welcome. Anything else? Oh, you wonderful people, thank you. All right, so I'm going to show you one version of the original. What we have looked on the slides was the